everyone, welcome and thank you for attending this webinar with Fullscript and Ashley Koff. My name is Michaela and I am part of the marketing team here at Fullscript. We're very excited to have Ashley here with us today to educate us on various practice management tactics. Before we get into the presentation, I just wanted to give a reminder that this recording will be sent to everyone who's registered. So if you have to log off early or you just want to watch it again, you'll have direct access to this through your inbox. This recording will also live on the Fullscript website at www.fullscript.com/webinars, where you can access all of our past and upcoming webinars as well. Throughout this webinar, if you have any questions, please add them to the questions section on your GoToWebinar dashboard, and we will get to them during the Q&A period at the end. So again, I'd like to thank Ashley Koff for being here with us today. She has helped thousands of patients and practitioners discover the transformation power of truly personalized nutrition. The Better Nutrition Program delivers a proven system, the BNP Toolkit, which is a full suite of tools for practitioners to easily develop and implement personalized nutrition recommendations. Ashley has authored 2 books, 2 chapters in practitioner text, and is a notable speaker at integrative and functional medicine conferences. And with that being said, I'm now going to pass it over to Ashley Koff to take it away, and I'll rejoin closer to the end of the presentation for a live Q&A.
Thank you so much, Michaela, and welcome everyone. I am going to actually stop sharing my screen. I just wanted to personally say welcome so that I can focus on the slides and have us get started. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us today. And I really am very grateful to Fullscript for choosing to go down this path of tackling this topic. I want to start off with a disclosure. I am a practitioner. I am not a financial advisor. So I want to make sure that you are getting financial advice from those that is their expertise. By way of introduction, though, I have been mentoring practitioners and helping them build and grow their practices for over the course of the last 15 years. That includes times that we saw, similar to now, like 2008, as well as many of you may have participated in our virtual business school that we did in conjunction with Fullscript when COVID happened, and we were, many of us were scrambling to go all virtual or partially virtual at that point. So today is meant to be a conversation. I really do welcome you to engage with me in the chat box and ask questions. I hope that you leave here today with some thoughts about where maybe there are some areas of your practice that right now it's a good time to be focusing on these in particular, and also some resources and some tools, of course, Fullscript being one of those. I'm so grateful for our collaboration, with Fullscript. So by way of introduction, if you haven't met me, as I mentioned, I am a practitioner. I have been fortunate over the last 25 years to do a lot of things, which includes having a robust private practice. I was primarily based in Los Angeles, but saw patients all over the country, all over the world, and have also been a part of things like at the government level, trying to work on improving recommendations. But for me, it's always been through the lens of personalization, because that was what I didn't receive. And I found that personalization was something that really helped me to number one, get in the right footing for myself, for my health, and then number two, really to differentiate my practice and myself as a practitioner. So where are we today? It's messy out there, and I just want to acknowledge any of our colleagues that are joining from places other than the United States. I try not to be United States centric, but I was trying to also get data. So we're going to use that information here. I think no matter where we are in the world, we're seeing that inflation and finances are challenging. We're also seeing access to goods and ingredients. Many of you, have experienced whether it's availability of supplements or, if there are things that you're selling through your practice, or long delays with labs processing things. So there's a lot that has been just kind of like, treading through jello, or even, kind of standing in mud these days. And it isn't likely to be changing for the next couple of years. And so we're likely to avoid what they call a classic recession. This changes every day. I wrote these slides about a month ago, and now they're saying, we might not avoid it. But taking the data from the experts, Bloomberg economists say that there is close to a 3 in 4 probability that we will be there in about 2024. So one of the key things to take away from today is right now, is the time to be planning for the next 3 years in your business and to have a good financial plan. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we can do that from a financial plan that also delivers better outcomes. But why? Why do we need to be doing this? Well, recession, asking the question, is recession going to matter to my patients? No matter where you practice. So in 2008, I was practicing in Beverly Hills in Los Angeles, Santa Monica. I had extremely, people where you felt like insulated from financial challenges. That was not the case, as we all saw. And then, of course, trickle down. We see this, for anyone really at any financial level. And just an example, that recently 30-year-old couple noticed a spike in prices for everyday items, in particular their gas and food. And so what they did intelligently was to reevaluate their budget and become extra cautious of their spending. And reasons that we're seeing that are food, housing, gas. I'm going pretty quickly because I don't think anybody's like surprised by this information, but please go ahead and ask me any questions or to pause it if you need any clarification. But food, housing, gas, utilities, other goods, 8.6% in the last 12 months. Prices are up at least 1% in May. They thought it was only going to be up 0.7%, so we're already seeing it outpace the pricing increases, outpace the expectations. People, interestingly, are spending more money on goods and services, but as we're going to see, they're also spending a little bit differently. They are also physically and mentally feeling worse, not better, following lockdowns, global and local concerns, financial stress, the impact of environmental issues, the fires and things like this. We're seeing that pervasively, affect businesses as well as individuals in their homes. So one of the reasons that recession you need as a practitioner want to be thinking about it is it's very important to note that the impact of a recession does not skip the healthcare sector. Whether you are somebody who takes insurance in your practice exclusively, or like many of us, even if you do take some insurance, you're also cash pay. But what does tend to happen for us per the experts is it hits at a later, we're sort of later stage. We're not usually the first place, but also it does take our industry longer to bounce back. One of the primary drivers for that is when we see job loss, we see healthcare loss. And job loss, remember, can be a shift in your job, going from being an employee to being an independent contractor, changes in your healthcare. And as a result, people are changing their healthcare habits. And this can happen for one person in the household, and it affects the healthcare habits of all. Many may be willing to be, living with a little bit of pain and using their money for something else, or feeling like they have to prioritize the cost of someone's medications as opposed to someone else's, maybe what might be perceived as preventative dietary supplements or nutrition counseling, or these kinds of things. Employers are already cutting down on employee healthcare costs, so the things that they were, they're trying to trim corners and cut back on certain things. So if your participants, if your patients are coming to you through that may have an impact. And noteworthy, patients are becoming increasingly price sensitive. So they're looking for the best value. And we know that that really puts us in a difficult position in terms of being paid our worth, and also the value conversation of, things like better quality ingredients and supplements, or different lab testing, or our services, needing to be compensated for, even working with us on that part. And so McKinsey predicts as much as a 30% drop in EBITDA, I can never pronounce it, but for anyone who's not familiar with this term in your business, you should be. It's essentially your earnings before everything else. So just looking at overall earnings, many of us call that revenue before profit, and not for profit and nonprofit providers. So it's likely to get more messy, more intensively concerning for us as we move forward. However, the Great Depression and times of financial challenge have actually made more millionaires than any other period in American history. So if that is the case, what we want to do today is really look at what is the opportunity to help you be successful in this time period. And as a healthcare practitioner, especially someone who owns or is part of, a part owner in your business, we're not here because we're just motivated by finances, but of course the financial aspects of our businesses are really important. So we have a dual agenda always. We always want better outcomes for our patients. We always want better profitability. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. You'll notice that I didn't say better earnings or better revenue. We're really looking for better profitability. So what I've done for us is really put together some strategies that I'm excited to share with you today and to talk about. And so really what you want to be thinking in this time period, and again, really through the lens of about 3 years, how you fare is going to depend on your strategy and your timing. So that's going to be something for us to really be focused on, having that 3-year plan and then breaking that 3-year plan into time periods where you're assessing, reevaluating, and making some adjustments as needed. So to inflation proof your practice, one of the most important things that we can do in any time of uncertainty is to be nimble. So that nimbleness, and I've actually created an acronym for us to help us here, is Nimble is going to stand for, N is going to stand for necessitate, I for initiate, M for market or marketing, B for budget or budgeting, L for listen or listening. You'll notice I'm turning them into verbs. E for evaluate or evaluating. And this is going to be, when we think about being nimble, what I want you to think about is when you are less strict or set, or things are less specific, it's this way or it's no way. When you're more nimble, you actually invite the opportunity to adjust to things that you are seeing and experiencing, and that allows us to be more successful. So what we want to look at, of course, we want to have plans in place, and we don't want to be feeling like we're just going to, wing it and see how things go as we move along. But we really do want to make sure that we have that flexibility as we are moving through. So let's dive a little bit further into this. First of all, does anyone have any questions as we're right now at this moment in terms of feeling like they know that they need to get something out of today? Or please put it in the chat box if you're like, I absolutely know before she finishes this conversation, in order for me to feel okay and to breathe, I want to be able to do X. Let me know those things. I'll come back to those when we get into the Q&A, but I do want to make sure that you feel that you get your value for having come here today. So being nimble, how do we get nimble? So N starts with necessitate. So by definition, necessitate means to take something necessary as a result or a consequence. So if the downturn in the economy, if we've got a downturn, we know that we're already experiencing that, or if an increase in the cost of goods, it necessitates that your practice has to have a plan to maintain profitability. Let's talk about that right now. A lot of times businesses are out there moving in plans towards increasing their revenue, the money that is coming in. The money that is coming in, especially for those of you that are practitioners who own your businesses. So you actually are the goods that are being sold. Yes, you might also sell lab tests and supplements and other things, but your time is the good that's being sold, right? In that space, we need to make sure that we're maintaining profitability even above revenue. So what I mean by that is, if you are making $100,000 in your practice right now, or you're making $900,000 in your practice, and your profit is at the end of the day, after you've paid everything else, you're profiting, let's say $30,000, or at the 900,000, let's say you're profiting $100,000. In that instance, that number, if we start to see that you're increasing your revenue, but you're not increasing your profitability, but your profitability is suffering, all that means is you're spending more time, but you're not actually making more money. I don't see that as successful for you. And one of the things in a downturn economy, if you can maintain your profitability, even increase your profitability, that's the gold standard, then what you're looking at for you personally and for your business overall is you're looking at being able to support your business moving forward and to have those finances that are protected under, and able to spend, however you want to spend on that part. So really important that we have a plan in place to maintain or increase profitability. So the second point, the likelihood that people will be more price value conscious, as I was just sharing with you, it necessitates that your practice has a plan to show them the value of your services. This is going to be so important. And I'm not talking about testimonials that says, oh my gosh, Dr. Black was the best doctor ever. I'm so happy I lost 30 pounds. Great. Somebody might actually be happy that they lost 30 pounds, but you know who is out there advertising the loss of 30 pounds? Every other diet entity, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, et cetera, and they're saying that they've lost 30 pounds on there. What you're looking for is testimonials and communication from your patients that are sharing how they were able to do something. For the first time in my life, I've known exercise was really important, but I wasn't able to fit it in, and now I'm able to fit it in. Or learning from the doctor after having done a genetic test that I really needed to support my methylation, and I got in, more choline. I'm making it up right now. But in doing that, I now have better energy. Like that kind of a testimonial is going to differentiate your practice and show the value versus what else somebody might see on, and they're seeing it, by the way, all the time, right? They are being advertised to all day, everywhere. You know it, you probably experience it yourself on that part. So really important to show the value of your services. And as we get into this, we're also going to go over the fact that it's showing them the value of your services at every phase, the entire time that they are a patient. And my intention for you is to cultivate longer lasting relationships with your patients, not trying to build a business that is built on having to attract new patients, new prospects consistently, which costs you more money flat out, takes more of your time, and is really inefficient when you look at profitability long term. So the other thing that we have to face today, in particular for those of us who are, in the healthcare side, especially as you look at integrative, functional medicine, et cetera, things that are more out of pocket, the fact that there are numerous less expensive direct-to-consumer options necessitates that your practice have competitive pricing. Now, I am the first to say, charge what you are worth and then some. I want you to be paid what you are worth, but we also have to understand that when somebody sees a package of $5,000 up front, and they're comparing that to being able to buy a stool test online and evaluate it, and the ad looks really cool, and now that's $59.95, you have to be competitive with them. So how can you structure things that help them see that $59.95, or help them have your pricing communicate how they're going to be able to afford this? One of the things that I also look at on that part is wherever you have the opportunity, like with Fullscript, for example, to charge different amounts for things. If somebody is already your patient and you're having them do labs and they're buying a package of services, and they're, maybe, they've bought in, if you will, to a whole package, in that instance, you may want to share with them value of a decrease in cost for them for things like their supplements, because you're going to be able to revenue generate off of your higher costs for your services. And so your overall profitability is still going to be maintained, even increased as you go through that. So that, and also really thinking about the timing of when you raise prices and how you raise prices. I love raising prices. I think every year, every practitioner should raise their prices, because you have spent another year practicing, and that means that you're more informed by all of the patients that you've worked with and the continuing education that you've done and all this stuff. And it's so important on that part, but I also want you to do it strategically. So one of my favorite recommendations is to have you do it where you increase your prices, but you let maybe at the end of the year, or maybe in June, depending, but you let your existing patients know, and you actually let them know at that time period that they can purchase things at the existing prices. Maybe it's an additional 10 sessions or any of that stuff. Number one, you will revenue generate in that moment. And number two, they're going to feel happy that they're not having to, it's a loyalty build, that they're not having to pay that increased pricing. So that's something that can be very intelligent for you to apply to your practice. Now, when it comes to being nimble, some of the things that we have to look at are making time to actually initiate change. Initiation, by definition, is causing a process or an action to begin. So we may need to start something to see how it's going to go. Just like with your patients, let's start having you add a glutamine supplement to see how your digestion does over a period of time. If we don't initiate something, we're not going to know how we're proceeding, and we're not going to have a plan that we can adjust from. So one of the things that we want for your practice to do in this time period is to have a strategy. So we're talking today about building your strategy that includes initiating conversations with patients specifically on the topic of finances, of how they're doing. Really talking about the prevalence of financial stress in this climate of uncertainty. If you're very forthright and you actually initiate this, and as you're going to see, it's not something I think just you, the practitioner, need to do, but also you can have a conversation and have a strategy for your office mates, your teammates, your colleagues to be also doing this. to actually inquire about it, somebody is going to know that you recognize where they are right now. And in doing so, they're going to recognize that you're building a plan for them. And you could be very upfront. Over the next 3 years, we want to look at how can we retain working together. We just did this in our business. We had a membership, and our membership was about $1,700 a year. And most people are like, okay, love renewing, love getting updated tools, coming to the work sessions, all of these things. But actually, as I was preparing for this and through some of the work that we did earlier this year, I saw what was coming. I know people, and I don't want people spending out of pocket on things that they're not using. And we just don't know right now necessarily what we're going to be using. So we pivoted, and our membership now is $80 a month. Do you know we have a higher revenue generation in the last 2 months and a higher retention than we even had at the $1,750. Now, month on month, may we lose some people? Perhaps, but we also have fees associated with coming back, and we have the opportunity where we can provide things for them and have a conversation about what is better for you financially. And so that is an important, piece to be addressing. And I think one of the key things is and you can literally ask people, are you someone who is seeking to feel better? If that is the case, then my practice is going to show you, and in this case, I'm talking about prospects primarily, but how to initiate feeling better with personalized recommendations. Recall, and I've actually done a presentation for Fullscript, I think it was about 6 months ago, so you can look back in the, where we've got the prior webinars on personalization and how it is your superpower. It is what everybody is selling today. And it is only what you, the practitioner, that P in personalization stands for practitioner. It's only what you can actually deliver. Somebody cannot have a genetic test and know what and purchase supplements and have it be right for them from there, because somebody is not, that supplement company has not asked and gotten to know, that individual person. Likewise, the stool test example that I gave before, likewise, nutrition recommendations. I don't care how good some of these, even a continuous glucose monitor, in the absence of a practitioner, we're not helping them with the total picture. So they end up, dropping down on carbohydrates, but have they addressed their sources of stress, or have they shifted what they're doing after they're exercising so that they recognize the other factors that are affecting their elevated blood sugar? So when you're talking and that you want to help them that understand that feeling better begins with, we want to initiate personalized recommendations and really clarify how you offer those personalized recommendations. And to achieve profitability, either the current profitability or increased profitability, you need to have a plan that evaluates the better uses and also has better strategy for meeting your patient needs, your revenue models, and necessary expenses. And we're going to go through that as we move on into some of the other letters of Nimble. So M, from marketing standpoint, it's to expose, there are many definitions of marketing. Here it's to expose for sale in a market. So we need to be exposing ourselves for sale in the market, right? The key thing that we need to think about here, and if it feels more comfortable to use the word nurturing in place of the word marketing, that's completely fine, because sometimes practitioners maybe don't feel either comfortable marketing or feel like, well, somebody's already my patient, I don't want to be marketing to them. Hopefully I can push you over the hump on that part. I happen to have like a very strong, the marketing gene is pretty intense in my body, but the key thing that we want to take away here is that marketing needs to happen at every phase. So every phase, thinking about when somebody is first getting to know you, when they're first becoming aware of your practice, all the way through to when they have been a patient of yours for years on end. I remember having one of my patients, and she had been, we had done great things, figured out some intolerances for her. She's a vegan, so we had to, at the time we found out, soy obviously wasn't working for her, and then of course there are issues with certain quality and types of soy, but also for her, more importantly, it was about designing a very busy career and designing days where certain days with the timing window, and certain days were better if they were liquids, just different things on that part. But literally 3 years after consistently working together, she went to work on a film, and the director there was like doing some program, and she wanted to support him, so she started doing it, and it was like food delivery and liquids delivery, and she like immediately called me like after, I think it was a month, and with all this stuff was going on, and she's like, I've got bad digestion again, I'm bloated, what is going on? And I was like, okay, like of course you can come in, but tell me what you're doing. And she had completely gone off plan. Like, this is somebody who publicly talked about her plan. but just in that moment, she wanted, she just forgot about it because she kind of wanted to be one of the gang, right on the show or on the film. And so in that space, it was so important for me, and I had kind of failed on my own in that capacity, to be marketing her, nurturing, checking in and saying like, hey, how are you doing? Do you need new recommendations? Are you bored with your hemp pesto? Do we need to change your protein powder? Like these kinds of things. And I learned a lot about nurturing my patients at every step of the way, so that we avoided these time periods where they went, totally rogue. And again, the marketing of other companies has only gotten more intense, that it's so important that we do that. And we need to have a marketing plan that evaluates new revenue opportunities for your practice. So we want to be thinking about things like memberships, nutrition programs, personalized programs. What are ways that we can be bringing in more revenue that helps to meet the needs of people at different phases of the practice? And so as you're talking to and thinking about your patients, not just the ones that are newly coming in, but thinking about the ones that have been with you for a while, what are their needs? And are there things that I could be doing that would help my practice both revenue generate and meet their needs and have that contribute to profitability? And then I would love for everyone to repeat loudly, just say it loud right now. Nobody's listening around you. I will not pay for marketing that does not deliver results. I will not pay for marketing that does not deliver results. And let me be gently kind here, but pretty bold or frank or tough love. Getting likes on Instagram is not delivering results for your practice. You have to have a very clear, from those likes, this amount of people then engage with me, they download something from those emails, this amount of people then become a patient, or they buy something from me, or they sign up, or they do whatever it is, but it needs to be tied to an action that you are desiring them to take. Look, if you don't want to make money in your business, I'm completely fine with that. If you're donating your time and you're out there, but it needs to be tied to the outcome that you want to see. So this is a really important time for you to evaluate who you have on the payroll for marketing, what you are doing for marketing, and to be clear with them. Have bonuses, have plans set out for them, but have them paid based on performance. So you can negotiate sales bonuses, get very clear on what your ROI goals are. So the return on ROI, and then also perhaps evaluate opportunities that are pay as you go, or pay when you're getting results on that part. From a budgeting standpoint, again, many definitions for budgeting. The one I want to focus on is to plan or provide for the use of in detail. So budgeting manpower, budgeting your time, budgeting your time, budgeting your time. But I'm just going to keep going, because one of the things that I see so frequently when I'm evaluating practices is that the practitioner, and this could be the doctor, the nurse, the dietitian, the coach, anyone in there, is not actually looking at their time as an expense on the expense list of the business. And it has to be, because the business is essentially paying you. If the business is not paying you, then this is an even bigger problem, but the business is paying you for your time. And so if you're answering emails all the time, if you're text messaging, if you're doing things like you're the one that's like, when somebody is in the EMR, you're moving and deploying something off to them, or something that could be automated or done by somebody at a lower price point, or if you're scheduling your Instagram posts, or if you're developing content, if you're doing these things, there is a cost for that. And that cost, that is what I call a true cost, as an expense to the business. And so one of the things that we need to do, because we're trying to retain or improve profitability for your business, is actually to come in, calculate that time, and figure out how your time can be spent better. By the way, this also ends up producing a joy in your work. So it ends up having you feel a joy in the work, and allows you to focus on seeing more patients, or seeing or not working if you're choosing not to work. But it really does help to address what is so pervasive right now, which is that burnout side of things. And I know what many people will say is like, I can't afford to have more people in my practice. You absolutely can, to helping and supporting you, if you're doing it in the ways that we're talking about, if you're doing the strategies that are helping you to make sure that you're not paying people for things where you're not getting the results, or you're paying people to be doing what's their zone of genius, what they're really good at, or you're not paying until you're paid, which is something that we'll come up to. So you really need a plan. You need to commit to having a plan that budgets all the aspects of the business to make sure that they're working to drive profitability and patient outcomes, because neither one of these can be less important for us, right? That's really important as we think about that part. So there are things where we know that the patients have needs. One of my favorites, I don't know if anybody else, you guys can give me a yes in the chat box, but Does anyone else have patients that really need a lot of support? They have like, and their questions are really like, is it better for me to have the loose leaf tea or the tea bag? Or when I'm making the tea, can I add my supplement into tea, or could I have it with coffee, or can I? And they're very specific questions. Does anybody get any of those questions? I get a lot of those questions. In fact, I got so many of those questions that I pivoted my practice and created a business that helps me get answers to questions so that I don't have to ask them, and also helps me provide the answers to questions so that I don't have to answer them. But as we're about, this is so important, because you answering all those questions all the time is that time against your business, but your patients need it. So you can't turn around and say, I'm just not going to answer it. We have to figure out where is the win-win. And a key part about that is also budgeting the cost of others to make sure that you're maximizing profits and outcomes. So in that space, in this time period, this may mean some flexibility. You may realize that, in the summer months, I actually I don't even want more patients. I just want to be working with my existing patients. So I don't really need to be having a robust marketing plan, that is focused on attracting new clients. But I really want to start dialing that up, say, in August through October, and I always end up with a ton of patients in November and December. So that's going to be the time period where I'm going to be paying for more help at that time, but I don't need it all year. Like, how do we maximize this, the cost of others as well? Pausing for a sip of water. Okay. Listen, listen, listen. So listening is here to hear something with thoughtful attention. Notice, by definition, listening is not just hearing. Those are two different words. Listening is to hear something with thoughtful attention and give consideration. Let's all pause for a moment. Many of us here are patients. Many of us in our business are not in our practice, I use those interchangeably, are not listening effectively. We have to make sure that our practice is designed so that we can listen better in every area of the business. If someone is not enjoying their experience with onboarding through an EMR, even if we love that EMR, we need to hear that. If somebody is, if you are constantly having, if your front office, virtual or not, and the front office, by the way, might be you, is constantly having to answer the same question, we're not listening. We're not hearing something with thoughtful attention and giving consideration to why is everybody asking the same question. It hasn't been answered thoroughly. It doesn't mean give them the same nutrition plan or talk to them louder, right? That's just from my experience and things I had to learn. Something else, you could have a listening army. Now, these might be teammates, these might be other practitioners, they might be coaches, as I'll share with you in a moment, but are other people positioned to listen for you? Fact of the matter is, if you are a doctor, and I'm primarily going to talk about doctors here, but also dietitians, naturopaths, if your patients are coming to you for recommendations, they may actually not be open to telling you what it is you need to hear, and someone else can listen, which is to hear something with thoughtful intention, give consideration. They're going to be able to get that information for you. That is going to be so important. Don't let people not come back. Don't deem people non-compliant with purchasing the labs that you recommend. Don't let people give you a financial argument for doing something. When we're listening, we actually get to understand even deeper why they can't see a way forward. And we can actually come up with a collaborative solution that is going to deliver them better outcomes. So this is really important, even if you feel that your system is set up to listen better. And that's not saying, like, at the bottom of every email, if you have questions, please email me. It's saying, oh, if you've got a question, you can call the front office. No. If we're set up to listen better, even if you have a great system, do you know that your patients are feeling heard? And if you don't know that, this is where your money is. This is such an important foundation of nimbleness and of that strategy. And it's an area that we can all be looking at to figure out how to create some shifts. So for example, why is somebody, since we're here at Fullscript, why is somebody not purchasing from Fullscript and going over to Amazon and buying a product over there? Why is somebody starting off with their supplements through Fullscript and why do I not have a repeat sale? If you don't have a system for listening, for assessing to do that, you're not going to be able to address it. and you're not going to find out answers that are costing you money. Why hasn't somebody come back for preventative health care as opposed to just coming to you when they're not feeling well? I had a doctor say to me, oh, you mean it's okay for me to reach out to somebody proactively if they're not just calling me and saying that, not just setting up an appointment because they're not doing well? That's that P in prevention, proactive. Absolutely. So listening is tied into initiating. We need to initiate the conversations. We need to have a system designed for listening. All right, E for evaluation. To determine the significance, worth, or condition of, usually by carefully studying, right, on that part, right? So one of the things you need to know right now, I think you know this, and so I don't mean to be condescending, I just was talking about it in that manner, but your prospects and your patients are constantly evaluating working with you, constantly. Look, they may, no fault of yours, no fault of theirs, they may not have a great appointment with you. That has happened to me so many times. Either something came up, maybe I wasn't as present as I would like to be, maybe they hit traffic, maybe something else, they had gotten in a fight before or after, maybe something else was totally on their mind, maybe quite honestly, they literally are just thinking about how much it costs to come see you, and it's just like, I don't even know if I can afford to do this right now, so I'm just totally tuning you out. I describe finances like somebody else, there was a research study done once, and certain people, if you all come and sit down at the table and there's donuts in front of you, certain people can have the whole meeting and they never thought about the donuts, or they grab a donut and they're done with it and they're fine on that part. Other people spend the entire meeting, they have no idea what the conversation in the meeting was, and all they're doing is thinking about the donuts in front of them. They weren't grabbing it, or maybe they grabbed it and had half or put it on their plate but didn't eat it. And so that financial stress are those donuts in front of us. So I can't, we're here today because we're concerned about inflation proofing our business. And a foundational part of that is understanding that finances are going to hit at every moment. So there are so many reasons why somebody may not have a session with you in the moment that they leave like, yes, Dr. Tom, rock star, I love him. I can't wait to sign up for 7 more sessions, $5,000, great, super excited. It's what happens after that. After someone comes and sees you, what are they experiencing at that point? Do they at that point have, or do you have someone going back to listening? Do you have somebody that's following up and asking them? Do you have something that's automated? Hey, just wanted to check in on a scale of 1 to awesome. How was our session yesterday? 24 hours later. Do you agree with the recommendations? Did anything come up? Did we miss anything? On these pieces. Excuse me. If we do that, we're constantly helping to address the fact that they're constantly evaluating us. And sorry, guys, I have a tickle in my throat, so I'm trying to address that. You also have to consistently evaluate any service that you pay for. Please, please do one thing today or this week, and or actually today is Thursday, okay, or Wednesday. Do it this week, or put a date on the calendar no longer than 2 weeks from right now. What is every fee that you are paying that is locked in, whether it's an annual membership, especially something that's for education, so that it's tied. I mean, I love education. I want you to continue your education, but it's not tied to the operations of your practice right now. What fees are those that are set? You remember I talked about how we shifted our membership. I actually want somebody every month to be like, yes, $80. I want those work sessions with Ashley and the experts. I want the new tools. I want to be able to have the support, et cetera, coming through that part. I don't want somebody paying right now. I legitimately don't want practitioners putting down $1,700, which I felt was a steal anyway, but still, in that regard. Likewise for you, don't lock in, are you paying monthly fees for marketing? Are you paying monthly, where are you paying that you can turn around and say, instead of having things locked in, I can put plans together and we can put a budget together for the services that I need, and I can choose to continue to reinvest, and then it's on them. People are constantly evaluating you. You should be constantly evaluating on that part. And then the final piece, and we've been talking about this in other ones, so I won't go on for too long on it, but helping them evaluate your services. So I'm pretty blunt. I will tell somebody, absolutely, you can totally go buy one of those stool tests, and it's going to tell you that you're allergic to almonds. If you've been eating almonds, absolutely, yep, go get it. Now, the difference is, if you're working with me, we're going to tune up your digestive system before we do any testing. And then I'm going to have you do a test, and the type of test that I do is going to show me this, but I'm also going to be able to factor in, and having known what it is you're eating and you're taking, I'm going to be able to see where those intolerances are, and I'm probably going to be able to see if it's something that's related to, and I go on that part. So you've got to head on really make sure that we're taking on these different direct to consumer options. I even do it in my social media. And I will be very clear, if you want to pay money for something that is unlikely to work and potentially be harmful for you, go ahead and do this test, right? We have to get in their faces because the direct to consumer marketing is getting in their faces. And so instead of just sort of letting them go through that consideration process themselves, actually in your materials, talk about it. Why do we choose this? Or use our materials. Why do I want you to do a continuous glucose monitor program with practitioners and coaches, as opposed to just wearing a continuous glucose monitor, and even one that has access where, you know, you'll have a coach that will message you, but doesn't know who you are in totality on that part? Because your sleep, your stress, your digestion, your hormones, your activity, all of these things are factors that affect your blood sugar, not just the carbohydrates that you're eating. And I want to be able to manage that information and figure out how that factors into everything else that we're working on. We've got to be direct as they are evaluating all the time. So that is being nimble. And the way that we become nimble is, in particular, I wanted to take a moment to focus on that personalization that I was talking about, where when we apply this nimbleness through personalized nutrition and lifestyle and have the resources to be able to do this, this is where you can optimize your profitability. So I wanted to give some examples through the work that we're doing and share a little bit about that. So for example, you know, as we're looking at being nimble, we want to come over here and we want to work with people and show them how to budget their food and their supplement choices. This is something that I feel like is not done extensively enough. And by the way, it may not be a better use of time or resources for you or anyone in your practice, but it is absolutely essential. If you are putting somebody on a supplement, I just put somebody on glutagenics the other day. It was like $70. I first of all let them know they got a discount because I used Fullscript and was able on that part, but I explained why it was so essential right now. And then I found 3 places in their food in what they're purchasing where we could save money. And no joke, and I just posted about this, it was inspiration for me for Instagram today. One of the things was, I was like, do you currently use soap or detergent to clean out your kitchen sink? And I showed them how the lemon that I now want them to put in their water is also the lemon that they clean their kitchen sink with. And I don't want you to use that other product, which by the way also had some ingredients in there that I didn't want them to do. We've got to show them how to budget better. And this is something that we have both tools for and also have coaches that can help on that part and education. But this is the only way that we're going to get people to continue to see that they feel that they can afford the choices that you're wanting them to make on that part. We also need to show them the difference between short and long-term results. I just talked about that. You know, removing almonds today is going to mean removing walnuts, peanuts, whatever you eat tomorrow, if you keep doing a stool test and you don't do the work to actually improve your digestive system, right? So if we do the work to improve your digestive system, and then we every quarter check in, see if your digestive system needs a tune-up, then we're preventing you from getting to the place where you have to remove all of these foods and do these other things on that part. That's the difference between short and long-term results. And show them that your superpower, nobody else's superpower, is personalization. Again, this as a practitioner, you are the ones that can do that personalization exclusively. So one of the ways that we can do this is by doing things like not just, actually intervening, and this could be in the communication, so this could be on your marketing side at every phase. And the great part about, when we're checking in with people from a nutrition standpoint is their nutrition changes, right? Seasonally, like over time. So what we want to do is if somebody is, at any point in time has had low iron, and especially if it's only diagnosed from, say, like a CBC, then you're going to come back and say, I want to look at other labs, if that's within your scope, et cetera, on that part. But if we're doing that, we want to come in and we want to understand and show them that instead of just saying like, oh, you're low iron, now we're going to give you an iron supplement, we may not have even addressed the problem. Let's actually see, are you eating iron? Are you taking in vitamin C rich foods? Are you taking iron supplements? Are you taking other minerals that could be, competing? Have you recently increased the intensity of your strength training? Is your cycle heavy or longer than 5 to 7 days? And how is your digestion? If we show somebody that all of this, oh God, you guys, sorry. If all of this is affecting your digestion, their iron levels, we're going to be able to help them optimize and see over time how they can make those improvements. So one of the other things that we want to look at is making sure that we're showing them, and whether it's you showing them or whether it's working, with a team or being able to, use our tools, or from the Better Nutrition program, we also have our programs, which include coaches, and our programs act as an extension to your practice. As we're able to do that, we're able to bring those coaches in who are able to answer all those minute questions, very focused questions that need to be answered that aren't a better use of your time. And we can do this at times when you're waiting for, say, lab results. So if somebody, maybe you are having them do a genetic test or a GI map or something like that, in that time period while they're waiting, they could be doing one of these programs and starting to actually get help as they're moving along. And in that time period, they're initiating change. They're feeling heard, that they need support because the coaches, are able to do that. And you're getting you're getting valuable insight about how we can personalize their nutrition. Oh, that just hit. We also, one of our other programs, you heard me talk about continuous glucose monitor. So important that we actually, if somebody is going to use a tool, that they're using a tool in a way that is going to be better for them with those better results. And we're going to be able to have them go through and get all of this data. You're going to get all of this data, but you're not going to have to do the work for gathering this data. You are able to wholesale costs, just like with Fullscript. You're able to purchase our programs once somebody has already paid you. So that's the key thing, right? One of the reasons that Fullscript and the Better Nutrition program are so valuable to you in this time period, and that help you be more nimble, is you're only paying as somebody has already paid you, right? Or in the case of the supplements, you're getting the revenue once they've purchased, but you don't have to be out of pocket on that. So in that case, here, somebody can be going through and using a CGM is a very valuable tool, but it's not a tool to be used just to help somebody remove carbohydrate. It's a tool to help them and help you get all the insights about what's affecting their blood sugar and how we can optimize it. And using our continuous glucose monitor program, you're going to be able to add that in, and that might be a really approachable step for somebody financially, whereas going on and turning around and saying, hey, right now I'm going to get coaching, I'm going to get access to a dietitian, I'm going to be able to wear the CGM, and then from that data, we're going to be able to be very targeted with what our next steps are. That when you're targeted, that you can communicate to them that is, especially over time, that is saving money. And again, that personalization is really going to be helping them get the information that they need in order to be able to move things forward. So where we are now, and we'll open it up into questions, is really, that key piece is, are you ready to harness your superpower through personalization? And one of the things that we wanted to do that's important, as we look at this time period, again, is not lock you into some price that you have to, purchase and feel that you're having to pay something on an ongoing basis, but also be able to give you the opportunity to try out any of our programs, and I'll show those to you in a moment. But Fullscript also, as partners of ours, we have a code, so Fullscript 10, and you'll see this, the join now here, and we can, I believe when the recording is sent out, they'll send this link again, so that we have that code, so that you can also enjoy 10% off, and you can get the tools, and you can also get the membership if you choose, and also be able to trial any of our new programs. So the programs with the Better Nutrition program, we are an expert team bringing coaches, nutritionists, dietitians to your practice as an extension of your practice. Remember, if you're a dietitian, I as a dietitian, having a coach really allowed me to scale and be much more efficient with my time as well. Being able to revenue generate with the power of personalized nutrition, not having out-of-pocket costs. You only are purchasing for these when you've sold a program. Adjusting pricing to be able to meet the different needs of patients, and then being able to ensure compliance with things like supplements and lab protocols, as well as the nutrition recommendations that you are making. These are all built on your nutrition recommendations. We just go into the programs and and share that that content and show them how to implement that, and they're able to message with their with their coaches on an ongoing basis. And this is the way that we build lasting relationships. This is a great way to also bring back or offer something to people who have been working with you for a while. And then we also have the Better Nutrition Program Toolkit. So I'll invite you, if you have any interest on these, to come to a demo. We can chat further about your specific practice. And there is a time-sensitive component to to using the Fullscript 10 for this particular discount. So it expires on the 31st at midnight. If you want to try one program and lock in 10% off any program in 2022. So just try to go ahead and sign up for that demo in that time period so that you have access. So I will come back, Michaela. Again, everyone, apologies for my loss of my throat. This has sort of been a lingering challenge here, but I appreciate it. And we can go ahead and go into questions at this point.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that amazing presentation. So we had a couple questions roll in. So the first question is, when you spoke to increasing prices, did you say that when you do raise the prices, you only do that for new patients?
Yeah, so I will, I've worked with a lot of different practices. I wouldn't say that the same strategy applies to every practice, but by the way, it's very loyalty building if you do that for, if you give a window to your existing patients to let them know there's a time period where the new prices won't go into effect for them. So for example, let's say that you're going to raise your prices January 15th. If in November or December, which is a really smart time period because people are using their HSAs and things like that, if they want to buy a package at that point, they can still buy at the existing cost. So after January 15th, they'll still be at that new pricing. So that's one model, and I really like that model, but it just gives them a time to lock in purchases at the older price, and they will enjoy that. And for others, sometimes we do keep people at their rates, and we don't increase their pricing. It depends a little bit on services provided and how you're charging too.
Awesome, thank you. Next question is, they say repeat follow-ups are a great idea, yet it is hard to know if anything more than a single follow-up is welcome or if it will come off as negative / annoying / badgering. So how do I get the idea of what's too much beyond a single follow-up if there's crickets and you're trying to demonstrate care or achieve a higher compliance?
Oh, thank you so much for this question. I so appreciate this. No one should invest in you for a session or for one session and a follow-up. No one. And quite honestly, you really don't want to invest with somebody for that time period. No one gets healthy. And this is what I would be bold from the beginning in your marketing, in your communications, in talking to them, even on a discovery call. I am here to go on a journey with you, and there isn't an answer. We may discover certain things, or we may uncover, and we might want you to start experimenting with how you can adjust something, but you don't get and stay healthy and get to check the box on that. What happens is you as a person are consistently evolving, and I'm giving you the language that I would use. Things are consistently shifting, and so I think when we deem them follow-ups, that's the problem. Instead of talking about, hey, we're going to work on right now your blood sugar, and we're going to do this continuous glucose monitor program, and afterwards we're going to go over and be able to really identify a couple of the key areas for us to work on. Well, we may want to, how you eat, what you're doing may change very differently in the summer versus the winter. Like, are you somebody, at least for me, I'm somebody who, the winter, it's dark at like 5 o'clock. And so when you're going to sleep, what you're eating, when you're exercising, all that's going to change. So there's probably a lot of value for us to repeat this in the winter. Do you want to go ahead and sign up for that now? Otherwise, if you want, we can go ahead and have a reminder date where I send you, and then mark it in the calendar and have it send over something to evaluate from them. One of the other things I think that you mentioned here that is one of the reasons, hearing crickets. Why do we hear crickets? Because one of the most, who wants to get an email of, hey, just wondering how you're doing. Do you want to come in for a follow-up on that part? One of the reasons that we use our toolkit tools, and they're so great at generating client retention or patient retention, is that if I have you fill out that iron evaluation again, and I see what you're eating has changed consistently, or if we've been working on your blood sugar and you throw on a new continuous glucose monitor and it's lower, whatever it is, the rainbow, and we see, this quarter I'm actually not getting in any orange. Things have changed. You're not having to tell someone, hey, we should come in and work on adjusting your supplements or doing this other stuff. They see for themselves that things have changed, and that belies a conversation. And so in that capacity, it should be set up that way. Now you can set that up as more of a membership model, but people are hesitant to sign up for investing in a considerable membership fee right now. So I would prefer to see that you're automating things to them, or you don't necessarily need to automate it, where you're asking key questions by way of showing them why you might want to shift things. And another thing, I don't know if you all do this, but I do this all the time with patients. It was a real big game changer. Is my supplement recommendations are typically a 60 or a 90 day. I am very clear with them. Even if it's vitamin D and I'm gonna have them on vitamin D for the rest of their life, I let them know it's 90 days. And within that time period, before they're buying anything else, I'm gonna send them a note, so maybe around day 75, and it's gonna have in there some key questions that I wanna know that are going to inform whether or not I keep them on the same supplement or I shift things. 10 years later, I still have patients who are just buying supplements from me, and they're still answering those questions. And that is, that's key in our relationship on that part, because I set up from the beginning that you don't go on a supplement and you just take it. We adjust your supplements to lifestyle, nutrition choices, how you're doing from a health standpoint. So I think there's a fair amount in there that what you've identified is a whole area to work on, because you really want somebody staying with you for longer. It's so much more valuable to your business and more valuable to them. And I will always point that out. It is not going to be a huge win for me if in 2 sessions you feel a little bit better. I will be excited about that, but I want you to feel really good for the next 3 years, noting there will be times where you don't feel as good, but we can help you feel better much easier because we've invested in this relationship. Those kinds of conversations.
And then how would you recommend letting past patients know about new programs that you're offering?
Yeah. So if all of a sudden out of the blue something comes that you're selling something, right? We've all gotten those one-off emails. So I would get in the habit of, and I always think it's great to just have a note from the practice, here's what's going on this month, here's a recipe, et cetera. One of the reasons I love our toolkit, and our members and the practitioners that have our toolkit are so happy, is that you have all of this done for you content. So at any point in time, you can turn in, our tool for July was our personal care, cleaning products and textiles. There is so much information in there that breaks out into, and that you can easily literally just lift, and our content is your content. When you purchase it, you lift and you take it and you drop that in. And so if they're in the habit of getting some information from you, then they're going to be in the habit of opening it and then saying like, oh, there's a new program on that part that can be really valuable in that capacity. I'm not as much a fan of going through like a whole launch strategy. Just wait, I'm about to launch on this particular day. And, if you're in the window and these kinds of things, I understand that those can be effective for selling a program and for, courses and all these other things. So I know people have had and you see, I had this 6-figure launch day, or I'm so excited about all of these things. People don't have health issues in a window that's associated with your launch. And so one of the reasons that I love what we offer through BNP programs is you don't have to, it's not time restricted. You can be quote unquote launching a new program at any time period. So anytime you want somebody to go through men's health or cancer risk reduction or continuous glucose monitor or too hot to handle or sweet taste bud reset, that when they in that moment are like, oh my gosh, I'm wondering, doc, should I'm just so struggling with my sweet cravings. You're like, hold on. This isn't just an avoid sugar. Let's actually see what's driving your sweet cravings, and let's work on those triggers. And coming out of that, we're going to be able to figure out, because it could be that we need to work on your digestion. It could also be a real signal that your sleep. It could also be, and that's going to give us better indication of where to go. So I'd like for you to do this program. So it's available in that moment. So I think the secondary answer to that question is, I wouldn't necessarily just have launches scheduled to introduce things at key points. I would help people understand that you have the resources for them in the moment when they need them. And that's something that we have put together for you. And I apologize that you can't click on if you go to the Better Nutrition Program /join-now, that's where the toolkit is. But that Fullscript 10 code that's there, but we will absolutely send that out, and Michaela will help me on that part. So thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. And then one last question, just being mindful of time here. Can you talk a little bit more about your pay-as-you-go CGM program for practitioners?
You bet. So if you go to our website, and by the way, please just set up a demo with me, and I'm happy for myself or my teammate, we're happy to go through with it. But all of our programs are so they are wholesaled to you. People cannot buy our programs. They can only buy them through you. So if somebody wants to go through the continuous glucose monitor program, or if you want them to go through it, If on our end it's $250, you can sell it for, let's say, $300, $400, $500, or it could be part of a program package that you're inserting. And once somebody has paid you, then you come over and pay us, and that's where that percentage off, like it wouldn't be $250 to you, it would be less if you are using a code. And then at that moment, we have a private Slack channel with you, which is like instant messaging. So any questions, recommendations, goals, etc., we're in contact with you, the practitioner. So we're implementing your recommendations or observing anything that you want to know about for the patient. And then your patient becomes a client in our program. They go in, they get the CGM, they get they may still need a script. We have a way to get the CGMs for free, but what we can go through that with you. It depends on your practice. And then they start through the program, and they're in the program with their coach, messaging any questions. They have sessions with their coach. They also have access to the every other week clinical sessions, which include myself and my teammate, and they can go through those. And then at the end, we give you a final report directionally saying, here's what their results, and we give you the tracing, so you have everything for their medical record as well, and you're able to then, we'll share with you what we saw from there, but of course, then you're able to make recommendations from there as well.
Amazing, great answer, thank you. Well, we know that your time is super valuable, so we'll wrap this up by thanking you once again for being here with us today, Ashley. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate all of the attendees taking time to join us today. So just one more quick reminder that you will receive a copy of this recording in your inbox, and then you can also find it and all past webinars at www.fullscript.com/webinars. So thank you again, everyone, and we hope to see you next time.